my inner 10-year-old still goes, "Oh my God, did I really do this?" And it's kind of circular because I always wanted to write stories like Star Wars. I never thought I'd have the chance to write Star Wars novels. I read the Star Wars novels. The Alan Dean Foster novelizations of the Star Wars movies were real favorites of mine when I was growing up. And when I started to write professionally and was selling science fiction novels, writing on something on that kind of scale was something that I really wanted to do. And I was writing then with a very dear friend of mine called Shane Dix, and we were writing our big space opera series. And our agent at the time, Richard Curtis in New York, he emailed me and said, "Would you be interested in writing Star Wars novels?" And I said, "Yes, yes, of course I would, Richard. I would love to." And he said, "Great, I'll try and get you a deal." And it didn't happen overnight. It took about a year before an opening appeared. They were writing a very big series called The New Jedi Order, and something went wrong in the middle of the series, and they needed writers very quickly, and they approached Richard, our agent, and he said, "Well, I can recommend these guys." So I got a phone call at 4 a.m. From Richard, who I'd never spoken to on the phone before. Our business had all been conducted by email, saying, "Do you still want the Star Wars deal?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Okay, we'll ring this person, say yes to everything they say." And like within a few hours, I had a flight booked to go to Skywalker Ranch to brainstorm what our books would be about. And it happened that quickly. So it was very much a hurry up and wait kind of situation where we were already doing work that fitted into that kind of style. And we were available when a need arose. And then suddenly it happened very, very quickly. And that's often the way it works with this kind of work. A need arises, an author is available. And that's kind of what happened later when I was adapting the computer games like The Force Unleashed. They would email me and say, "Oh, we've decided to do a book. Could you drop everything and do it now?" And I'd go, "Sure, I can write a book in a month if it's a Star Wars novel, you know."
Oh my God. Okay, so you go to Skywalker Ranch. Is the expectation that you have such a deep knowledge of the lore of Star Wars, or do they give you like a compendium or something?
Yeah, they gave me all sorts of encyclopedias and other books to read. Anything I wanted, I could get in written form. But they also had an expert there. Leland Chee was like the guru who knew everything. And this was part of the problem. When I finally sat down to write the first book in this series, you asked what it was like before, and I didn't answer this question. It was actually really, really hard. I thought that I knew Star Wars. I knew the tone of Star Wars, and I knew what kind of stories fitted into the Star Wars universe. But actually sitting down to write one I found very, very difficult, because I had to ask myself, had Princess Leia ever been to this particular planet? What did they speak there? What food did they eat? What did the world look like? All this kind of stuff. And I could email Leland Chee to ask this kind of stuff, but he's in America, I'm in Australia. I just need to get on with telling the story. And a very good friend of mine, Jonathan Strahan, who I complained to, he said, "Well, you're making the mistake of thinking that you're writing fiction." And I said, "Well, what else am I writing? It's not real." And he said, "Well, if you treat it like writing non-fiction, you will find it easier, because then there are all these references, there are all these sources. You can tell the story, but you can fit the facts in later, like sometimes you do when you're fact-checking a non-fiction piece." And that kind of gave me permission to work in this universe. But I was constantly aware that I was writing lines for characters that I loved, but also lines for characters that millions of people loved out there, and that I was writing for them. I was writing for my inner 10-year-old, but I was also writing for this very large audience of people to whom these stories mattered a great deal. And it was a wonderful fandom to kind of plug into and to engage with.
What an incredible experience.
And an incredible honor too. It was to be entrusted with these characters and these stories. I've been so fortunate.